Right, we got one heck of a show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. You're going to meet one of the top news anchors, celebrities here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market who made a transition into the real estate business and is absolutely crushing it. Stay right there, and you're going to meet her right after this. Struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. All right. You are ready for this. I'm telling you what, we have a very special guest in the house today, and I'm so excited to introduce you to her. Before I bring on this lovely lady who is just a celebrity, not only in the news business, but also a great celebrity in the real estate business and just crushing it, I wanted to do a real quick check-in here with my co-pilot, Trelvis. Can you, Trelvis, you out there?
Yes, sir. I am, man.
All right. Listen, I want to make sure we get this show off to a positive focus. What do you got positive for me this morning?
You know what? One positive thing I can say, in the city today, it is beautiful outside. Like, the weather is not too hot. It's not too cold. You know, it's just right for whatever you want to do outside today. It is a perfect day.
I'm telling you, the weather's nice outside, but it is hot in this studio, and you're getting ready to find out why here in just a second.
I like it.
And I promise I'm not going to say anything about the Cowboys on this
please
show.
Don't ruin the day.
All right, you got it. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am so excited to present to you today our guest on the show. This is Maria Howard. You might recognize her. Yeah. Hi, Maria. How are you? So glad you're here today.
Yeah.
And many of our guests out there that are from this area will probably recognize you from your days at Channel 11 and other places you've appeared in the media.
I've been around a long time.
Yeah, been around. You haven't been around that long. Either that or you were, I think you were probably, 12 or 13 when you started in the business is what it was,
secret.
Right?
Yeah.
So, your story here, and if you're an agent out in the audience right now, or even just a casual observer of the show today, what you're getting ready to hear is a story that is going to be so compelling about what it takes, the character and the challenges that somebody has to, going from being a celebrity in news media is, first of all, that's a great accomplishment. And then to do what you've done in the real estate business following that is something that really is amazing. What I'd like to do is kind of rewind a little bit, though, and let's get the audience, give them a chance to get to know you a little bit. Can you take us back as far as you want to go? About and let's get to know Maria a little bit. What's kind of your early story, Maria?
My yellow brick road. My early story. So I'm from Honduras, but I was raised in New Orleans, and I came here when I was 3 years old, and I'm hailing from New Orleans. So all my New Orleans folks out there, hey ya. And I've been in television all my life. And then just to fast forward and do this quickly for you, so I ended up in the Dallas market. I was a model first and doing some television and film. And then before you know it, and every single film that I would do they had me stereotype either as a reporter or a correspondent. And one day somebody said, that should be telling you something. So I went to SMU, graduated at the top of my class, became a journalist, and so then I worked for E. I did some stuff for E Talk Soup in LA, and I did a correspondent stint for Extra, and CBS 11 came along, and the rest is history. But there's a whole thing about that, and the transition happened for me. I think the transition began for me that it sort of was leading me to real estate back in 2008 when I left CBS.
When you left CBS.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into that amazing story about when you left Channel 11, let's let's talk a little bit about you, the person. Tell us about your family a little bit.
Oh, my family is a very political family in Honduras, and in fact, I was telling you about this earlier, that when I was first hired at CBS 11 to anchor the 4 o'clock newscast, at the time I was co-anchoring with Jody Dean, they needed a way to have me connect with the audience and to introduce me, and it was a fantastic story. Even back then, there was a story being told about this nexus between Honduras and the United States, even then in 2008, and there was gang violence and all this kind of thing. So I have a very political family, and they allowed me to go to Honduras and film a 4-part series on Honduras. So that's my family. They're a political family. I landed there, and I never had to worry about security or anything like that, because I was always protected. But it is dangerous, and I've just been very blessed. So I have a ton of family here as well, and I moved to New Orleans, and I think one of the seminal moments in my career when I was at CBS 11 was when Katrina happened.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember. It's one of those. That's one of those times where you remember the day, where you were, what you were doing. I remember like it was yesterday. But,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I remember that my co-anchor, who was leaving at the time, about 6 months before Katrina happened, I was still kind of new in the business, because journalists don't become anchors in top 5 markets in a primetime position unless they've been doing the reporting for a long time. And I circumvented a lot of that because I was blessed by people who just believed in me so much. And I thank God, when I look back, that somehow, by the grace of God and many, many angels along the way, I handled myself really, really well. And I gave as good as I got. But there were things that I still didn't know how to do really well, things that I was still working on. I think I could work at it and never have quit, even until now and for the rest of my life, and still be working at ways to be even better at breaking news, which is really the core of what we do as anchors, right? Breaking news. You can read teleprompter, but can you really do a dance? And I remember that Jody Dean said to me, he backed me up against the wall one day. He was about to leave and go back to radio. He goes, one of these days something horrible is going to happen. And he was like a big brother who didn't want anything to happen to me when he was gone. You know, he goes, and I want you to get this together. You look fantastic on, you carry it well. You carry it as well as anybody that I know, but you can still be better. And I'm like, what do you want from me? You know? And literally a couple months after that, Katrina happened, and I was the one in the newsroom. I remember lights going down. I remember tapes going down. I remember prompter going down. I remember me going, where's the prompter? And they're like, and everybody going, we're going live. We're doing a dance, you know.
So you know how to operate under fire.
I know how to operate under fire. So after that, I went, I left there. They actually, Black Friday happened in 2008 when, there were layoffs across the country, across industries. CBS 11 was not immune to that. A lot of us lost our jobs. But I was given an opportunity to stay and do the morning newscast. But I couldn't, because I wouldn't have had any time with my daughter at that point at all. And she leaned over and said to me, as I was trying to explain to her what was going on, to make the choice, she goes, I don't need you. It's okay, I don't need you, Mommy. And I was like, it just killed me, and I thought, I've got to find something to do that can match my broadcast income or better, and give me the kind of satisfaction that I've had with when you've identified your entire life in one way, whether it's you're a comedian or you're an actor or you're in news, or maybe you were in the financial industry, but you were a rock star. You weren't just in that industry, you were good. You were the best.
Right.
Then how do you do something else? And you've only ever done that one thing. So that was terrifying for me. And I got an opportunity to sort of, the servant side of me really wanted to do my 2-year stint as the communications director, the PIO for Dallas County. So I did that for a couple of years.
Right.
There I met a lot of investors, a lot of land people, a lot of people in the real estate industry, and worked with them in the private sector when I left when I left the county for a few years before I decided to get my realtor's license. So I always like to say, I I was in real estate first, before I became a realtor.
Well, it's, I couldn't say it better. I'll just say from my 31 years experience in the business that the top agents that I know, it's usually the culmination of their life experiences that come together to make them the realtor who they are.
Right.
And, like we talked about, like you mentioned earlier, the ability to dance, to operate under fire, to make things happen. It really is that sort of quintessential entrepreneurial environment that you've got to immerse yourself in as a realtor to really represent your clients and do the right things for them. So the idea then, you at what point in your life then did the real estate thing really come in front and center? Was it when you were the PIO, the public information officer? Had you had visions of it prior to that?
It started to tease me then.
Ah.
And I'd had visions of it prior to then because I knew that I loved interior design. I used to love, just as a hobby on weekends with my husband, to just go look at new construction. He used to be in construction back in West Virginia. His grandpa taught him how to use his hands, and he built houses. So he initially at one point wanted to be an architect, and then ended up being picked up by IBM and spent an entire career there and retired there. But so yeah, it had been teasing at me for a long time. I just didn't think. All I ever knew was television, so I didn't think that there was a solid foundation. Maybe if I used to say to myself, maybe if I come from the financing industry or a mortgage lending side, or maybe if I even knew someone who did, maybe if I came from insurance, or if I knew something about the construction of a home. Well, I knew something because I'd been just interested in it, right? Or maybe if I this or that. And there were so many reasons why I never would have really considered being a realtor. Really. But I knew after I read one of my favorite books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh gosh, yes.
That I wanted to understand better how to at least get involved in real estate. That's very different than being just being a realtor. Those are two different caps. And so I wore the investor cap for a while, working with investors. I didn't have any personal money to do that with, and I was doing it during a buyer's market, which was really, really tough, and with a group of investors at one point who didn't have enough money to take enough risks. So then you're spinning your wheels. And then I began working with an uptown developer, and that's where I really started learning some things. And man, the idea of getting my real estate license was unavoidable.
So you really picked up some really valuable experience before you even got your license. I like to say you learned how to shave on somebody else's face, right?
I love that. I'm going to have to hold on to that one.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, let's just be frank here. A lot of realtors come out of real estate school and they really didn't get that advantage of working in real estate, prior to getting their license. So they kind of earn it's kind of on the job training,
right.
Really is what
It's
it
tough.
is. Right, and it is tough, and sometimes it can be tough on the clients. But that's in your case, you really had a foundation that you built off of that kind of leveraged you into the to the sales side of the business.
And yet I knew nothing. I mean, at the same time, here, this is what I think. If you don't dress successful, if you don't carry yourself like you're already there, you're never going to get there. Right? So from the moment I got my realtor license, I would answer the phone like a rock star. I was already at anchor level when I was in college. I got my first reporter position with NBC by submitting a student tape when I was in college, because I was unafraid to ask, what are they going to do? They'll say yes or no. Why be afraid to approach a prospective client at an open house or on the telephone in a lead gen situation because they might hang up on you? What if they don't? And so what if they do?
Right. That
was my attitude.
Yeah.
I just thought the worst they can do is say no, but someone is going to say yes. And so I faked it till I made it. And in television as a model, because I was never 5'9" and 110 pounds, never was, never will be. but neither was Lauren Hutton. She had the little gap tooth and 5'6", so I did well as a print model. And whatever I decide to do, it's not because I'm so much the bomb or different than anybody else. The only thing that maybe set me apart, that was my saving grace in any career that I've ever endeavored to, is following the ethos that, can you really see yourself this way? Can you really believe that you can do this?
Right.
And if you can, that's half the battle.
Okay, you've got a word here that you're about to speak, and I want the agents that are out there, if you don't already have a pen and a notepad, and if you're not taking notes, you need to get it out now, because I want to ask you a couple things, and one of them has to deal with mindset. How important and what kind of advice can you share, can you give younger agents out there about the importance of having the proper mindset in this business?
Oh my God. I mean, I think that to me is, mind over matter is a universal truth, right? Visualizing is a technique that successful people have used for eons. So it means if you have the right mindset, if your mindset speaks to one fact, which is beyond a shadow of a doubt, I can do this, I will do it, of course, because I'll be fabulous, of course, and people will believe me, of course, because I believe me. I will believe me because I have written down, and if you don't have a plan written down and you don't plan, then you plan to fail.
Right.
I always say that. So I had written down, I approached going into real estate like a journalist would, right? So I took my trusty pad and pen everywhere I went. I had a little, those little tiny pads. And whenever I ran across someone who was in real estate, I just peppered them with questions about how they got started, what did they do, how did they get leads, where did they get them from, all this stuff. And after I amassed enough stuff, that's when I was able to contribute enough thought, energy, and credibility to writing a book about what I found out. So I forgot what you asked me. So the mindset.
Mindset, sure, yeah.
Have that plan, and then follow the plan and wake up. Wake up early enough so that you can follow the plan, check the checkoff box every day, and it's not a question of if you make it, it's when. Some people do have a more difficult time because even when they do all those things, then it comes down to, well, did you plan in your plan to decide where to begin in terms of brokerage? Because where you go with a broker is do or die in the beginning. I love KW, where I landed when I first started, because even after speaking to so many brokers and agents and rock star level agents who have their own brokerages or they're just Berkshire Hathaway, Sotheby's, everybody, they all agree that KW knows how to teach. They really know how to teach. But after that, you have to decide wherever you've learned, wherever you're going to go and learn to learn, then what do you do after that? What are the next steps? So my research, I wasn't just asking how'd you get started, but once you really started banging it out there, how did you handle that? What were your biggest challenges? How did you overcome them? And they gave me the crystal ball of things that would happen to me even once I got to a point where I could cap and where I could, which I'm about to, so I'm being this is completely honest here. I've only recently gotten my license. Last year I got it. I've been in real estate for a long time, but I just needed to get the piece of paper. And the reason I'm so confident is because all the mindset for me was all wrapped around making a plan, and part of that plan was becoming knowledgeable, really knowing what the hell I was talking about. And you don't know everything about what you're talking about ever. No matter who you are and how much you learn, because you're always learning. With every house and every client I learn. But I darn sure can look them in the eye and tell them that I can protect them, and that I'm not going to take on so much that I won't be able to look them in the eye from time to time, that I won't be able to visit with them, that they can't call me, that I will be reachable all the time. I always want it to be that way.
Right. Well, I mean, look, let's face it. I've only been in the business 31 years, and I
Only?
don't know everything there is to know about the business, and that's for sure. But you've done something that I haven't done yet, and you've penned a couple of really important books here to help your clients. This is this one. You want to just tell us a little bit about this one? This is the how to sell your home for top dollar. What sort of things can you give us without giving the book away here? All the goodies in it. What are the one or two of the top nuggets that somebody could take away from this?
That's incredible for people who aren't necessarily for sale by owner, but are considering that, and they don't really know how, they're thinking maybe I'll list my house, but I don't want to fall prey to what happened to my neighbor down the street who could never sell their house, and, God only knows it was worth thus and thus, and they put so much money into it. Well, maybe they over-upgraded for the neighborhood. There are lots of pitfalls that people can come across that I felt, I told you that I've always had a servant nature in me, I know, and I'm a homeowner as well. I know how hard it is to get through those landmines. And as I went along, as I said, even working with investors, I knew the kinds of things that sold, that people wanted all the time, and the things that didn't sell. So that's what this is about. It talks about how to prime your home in a way that it's going to sell.
Okay.
And that involves knowing the market in order to be able to sell, and not just comping a house, not just doing upgrades, all the things that most people think they know, and then they want to for sale by owner, and suddenly they're not selling their home, and they're thinking, oh my God. Well, that's precisely the reason why many people will take my book, after they've tried their for sale by owner, and they'll call me, and I'll actually be able to sell their house for more than they were able to not sell their house for
Sure.
on their own. And there's a reason for that. If you went to school to be a computer tech, or to be an engineer, and somebody is just really good at math and says, I can be an engineer, I can fix that thing, and you would just say, not so much, sir, not so much.
Right.
So that's why we're important.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's great, and it also it establishes credibility right up from the front, and then how you sell homes for top dollar when others fail. So you've got one, how to sell it fast, and then how to sell it when yours has failed, like expired listings, for example.
Expired and canceled.
Yes. Yeah.
So why did they expire? Why did they cancel? And for that one, I am trying to give a reality check to people whose listings have expired or canceled, because we all hold our home dear to us, and that's the lovely portrait that I've always liked there. That was from the Victorian era that I just absolutely have to have there.
Right.
But a potential buyer may not. So do you want to sell your house, or do you want to be right?
Right. Right.
So that's just like notes of wisdom. When you finally get to a point where you gotta, and you want to be in reality now.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I was just looking at the clock here. I don't know if you
Oh,
realize
look at
that
the time.
we have gone a lot faster here than I thought we were going to, and I want to get to some key things here because we promised over lunch that you would share these with us, and I know our audience is going to love this. You said that you would be willing to share the craziest moments that you've had in your career in broadcast and then in real estate. You want to tell us about those?
Oh my God. So in broadcast, I don't know if it's a crazy moment. I think I already told you the one crazy moment, the one with Katrina. That was, I will say that there was another one. And I don't even remember what the breaking news was. And Jody Dean was there at the time. And just goes to show you when you see a female male anchor team, they're usually all married, but they're married. They're anchor marriage team, like he's my anchor husband. And we had this, everything went down, all the tapes went down. We had a studio that was, the big brand new studio, but we had the old bullpen where that used to be a little tiny studio there nobody ever used anymore. Everything went so haywire. They were telling me there's no prompter, but there's also no studio because all the lights went out. And I was like, well, what are we going to do? And he grabbed me, and we were running down the hall, and they set up a camera real quick, and he goes, and he was holding me like a dad would hold someone, or a husband. And he said, you just follow my lead, and you just hold on tight. And while all this, everybody was running around crazy. They were skidding on the floor with their socks because their feet wouldn't take them there fast enough. And I remember it being so scary that it was like a traumatic a thing where I just saw everyone in slow motion as it all went by. And I decided, like when you decide to leave it up to God, I just decided to leave it up to him. And I said, I could have just bawled right then and threw up. I just didn't know what to do.
Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
just like that, they say one, and you're trained as a broadcaster to just, I'm sorry, you have no choice, lights are on. And he started to talk, and he talked long enough till he knew I had my breath back. And Jody, if you're watching, thank you, sir.
There you go, Jody. All right. Well, how about what's the craziest thing that happened in real estate? Yeah.
Craziest thing that happened in real estate. I don't know if I would say that it's a crazy thing. I had a buyer who wanted a kind of a feng shui type house. He wanted a lot of particularly specific, he wanted specific things in a new home build and out in the Prosper and McKinney area. And we went through this process, and I guarantee you for months and months, because every time we would get really, really close, then he would add another thing, and the final straw was that he wanted them to move the entire stairway back about a foot. Well, that ain't gonna happen. You mess up the Rubik's Cube, you mess up the whole upstairs. Okay.
Right.
So I remember leaving. I remember parking. He was going to have a meeting with the builder. It was going to be the final ultimate thing. He was going to sign for the plot of land, and he was going to lock himself in, right? And he was going to do it without me. And the builder called me and said, "You there? Come on through." And I came on through, and the builder said and when you get to work with a builder like this, always work with them, because that's how they keep my business out. That's how they keep our business, right?
Right.
And he confronted the guy, and he said, if you want to do this deal, you're going to do it with her, or you're not going to do it with us.
Got it. Oh, wow.
So it's kind of funny to me, because to be honest with you, I was scared. Anything scared me at that time. I was fairly new. And so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I needed the deal.
Absolutely. And so, again, our audience out here, I know we've got some agents out there that are either contemplating new in the business, looking for some guidance, assurance. You've been adamant about the importance of understanding your why. Okay, that's been a big thing for you. I want you to talk, and we're going to probably need to wrap this up. So 5 minutes, and that's not very much time. This is a huge subject, but if you would, can you share, impart on these viewers how important it is to have your why figured out when you get into the real estate business?
Because then you don't have a North Star. I mean, you have to be able to see the light all along the way, somewhere, somehow, because there's darkness everywhere when you start. So when I began, my why was that I knew that I was approaching 60 next year, and I needed to do something quickly. I don't have 10 or 15 years to be wasting around here, and I wanted to be able to do and build a foundation and a sort of a team thing within 2 or 3 years that normally would probably take 10 years, so that I could buy a place on an island and I could go visit 2 months out of the year and then come back here the rest of the time and pick up where I left off and not have to start all over again. My why it wasn't me saying, I need to make 300 grand a year, or I have to make $500,000 a year. I want people to, when they speak my name, for them to say she is a rock star realtor. You hear it all the time. Man, he turns 100 deals a month. I don't want to turn 100 deals a month. I just don't. But I do want a strong pipeline. I want to work with people, and people who want to work with me, who want to know what they're doing better and who can show me some things as well. So I'm beginning the process of building that, and I've got 3 people, 2 ladies and a guy, that absolutely want to work with me, and I've been formulating sort of the terms of that and what we're going to do. My lead generation has gotten to the point where I can't keep up with it. I'm leaving leads on the table, and when you're starting to leave leads on the table, that it's time to share. And so, hey folks, I'm ready to share leads. But it means working with the right kinds of people, right? So the why is what took me through this whole time. And my daughter is a 21-year-old who's a singer, who's a communications major and arts management major at SMU, who's having a tough time. And she told me that the reason, when I asked her, why aren't you doing this? Why haven't you done this yet? Why haven't you accomplished this so far? She says, because, you know, I can't do those things and concentrate on that. I have to go do the singing thing because I'm getting old. I said, ha, that's hilarious. Okay.
I guess it's all relative, right?
So my why, part of it is I want her to see that I set out on a path no matter what the age and just made it happen. And I want part of that to be, you know, a legacy for her and for my son as well, who's 32, for them to see that anything you want to do, you can do it. You just have to have a plan, and you got to wake up every day and do it.
Right, right. I mean, that's, like you said earlier, you know, not having a plan is just planning to fail.
It is. And then there are people all around you that are willing to help you, but they don't know you need the help unless you ask, unless you tell them, I'm scared, I'm terrified. And do you know, I asked so many questions. People were probably sick to death of me at KW at first, but by golly, I was going to find someone that was going to help me, and they did.
Right. You know, that's another show we'll have to do on how to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because none of us get where we want to be on our own, and yet none of us really know how to ask for help. And that's something else, especially in this business. It's not one person that brings a real estate transaction together. It is a symphony of people that bring it together.
Absolutely.
And it's really important that, and again, speaking to the newer agents out there, that you really got to mind who you align with. And you want to find people, surround yourself with people that are where you want to be, right? When you recommend that.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's an old saying that, you know, you're an average of your 5 best friends. I also say, if I were to guess how much money you make a year, let me see who you hang around and I'll be able to tell you, right? So think about that. But again, that why that's what will get you out of bed on those mornings when you know nothing's going to go right and you're going to get your head beat against the wall, but you still got to do what you got to do.
Right.
That why will get you out of bed and get you through that, because it's not permanent. You know, Zig said you're either in a storm, you're coming out of a storm, or you're headed into a storm. There is always going to be a storm, right?
Yeah, always. And so you're always planning every day for the storm. But what I would also tell new agents is, don't be afraid. Just know that if that guy did it, then you can do it. And you don't want to go to the same source 1,000 times if you have 1,000 questions, because you just might, because I did. So I made sure that I had, 3 or 4 or 5 different people that I could reach out to at any given moment and ask questions to when I needed them. So when I got that first, I will tell you a funny story. So the first deal that I ever got, I got the listing, and then it was going along just fine through the option period, and everything was, we got the listing, everything was going fine. Then I get a phone call from the agent. My buyer loves the house. We want to make an offer. It was 10 o'clock at night, and I said, absolutely, send it right over. And that was my TV voice. That was my in control person, because as soon as I hung up the phone, I went, oh my God, what do I do? So you think you learned that in Ignite, or you learned that in real estate school, but you didn't. You thought you did, because then you start asking, what if, and then you talk to someone that says, calm down, you're right, there really isn't much for you to do right now. You wait for them to bring you the offer. But then what? Then what do I do after that? Well, call me and we'll talk about it.
Right.
Or talk to your seller and make sure. Okay, now they're going to bring an offer. What do you say if they say this? What do you say if you say that? See, that's planning for the inevitable, right? The possibilities.
Right. Super. Well, that's great.
That was
great
funny.
Words of wisdom.
Oh my God.
Yes.
On text. Oh my God.
That's where OMG came from, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, Maria, you have you've lit it up today, unpacked a lot of things here for our audience to really think about, and the mindset, the why, the things that you had to overcome You know, and being relatively new as a salesperson, having that such a rich background that you bring to the table. You know, I know a lot of agents who are in the business that didn't start in real estate, but they took their collective experience and brought it. And real estate is typically not where people start, except for my son, because he didn't. He got the short. He got the short straw, right? He's back there in the control room.
You know how blessed you are, don't you? Yes, sir.
He's doing a great job. But yeah, and so, gosh, again, your book's awesome here. Just you're a real, genuine Maria person, somebody we can all look up to. You've had an illustrious career in broadcast journalism, and I know that's again helped you along the way here, and you have such a promising future in real estate now. I know that clients that have worked with you and are going to work with you in the future are going to be some of the most happy clients that there are in real estate. So
doesn't that make you happy?
That's what it's all about. We love the warm fuzzies in this business for sure. That's what makes up for a lot of the punches in the gut that we take, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I'd love to have you back. Maybe we can do a checkup 6 months or so down the road, have you back on and see how things are going.
Absolutely.
And see how that lead generation's working out for you.
And I'll log my funny stories.
There you go. There you go. For sure. For sure. Trelvis, my dear friend, I want to thank you, sir, for making sure that this plane lands on the runway again here. And who are the Cowboys playing this week?
That is a great question. The Eagles.
Eagles,
yeah.
that's right. Okay.
It's an in-division game.
Are you a Cowboys fan?
I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm afraid we're going to serve up some Cowboys for the Eagles here to enjoy. That's my gift. That's my gift to all my friends in Pittsburgh and Philly.
I almost cut the episode off right there. I almost ended it right there, Cliff.
You know, you don't go there. Politics, religion, and
sports,
Cowboys.
Right, and Cowboys. No, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan when they're winning, that's for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for being here today to view us. If you're watching this live, hey, be sure to give us some love, show us the heart, the thumbs up. Let us know. We really we do this show for you, and we're so glad to have you watching today. Maria, thank you again so much for being on the show. The bomb. She's the bomb.com right there. And gosh, look forward to seeing you again on the show, having you again. Trelvis, thank you.
For having me.
Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Good golf, good tennis. And whatever makes you happy out there. Talk to you soon.